Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Eric. I'm here currently today at Watford, just around the corner from Croxley. Funnily enough, there is a train coming in the distance, so I'm at somewhere that I really like on the Metropolitan Railway, talk the devil, called Watford South Junction. Here's a train coming just behind us, and there it goes. Now, most of you will know by now, I'm a massive London Underground nerd. I do love the system, and obviously I'm building a big model railway to do with the Metropolitan Railway. And what a better place to build than Watford South Junction when you need another few feet of layout to add on to go to an exhibition. Now, talking of exhibitions, I have had a silly idea in talks with Anthony from AGR Model Railway Store and Andy from Rapido Trains UK. They're both putting events on at similar times, a week away from each other, and we thought, I wonder if we can get Eric's layout to one of these events, if not both. So away we go, really. So Hairfield's current setup in the cabin is a 12 by 2 foot scene that makes up the station. Now, to go to an exhibition, of course, I need to make it a big oval so that we can run stuff around into a fiddle yard and back out the other side. So I've got a lot to do. I need to get Tim Horn on the case building me some baseboards, and then we haven't got long to build an actual layout by the time the baseboards will arrive. So the idea was, Watford South Junction is a location that I've always found very interesting on the Met, and it's somewhere that I lived local to for quite a number of years, so I saw it all the time. I travelled around here plenty, so I figured, why not try and model it? Also, what I'm going to do is add a bit of my own sort of take on it, because there used to actually be a line to Croxley tip sidings here, which was taken up some years ago, and I want to add that back in as if it stayed until the modern day, because then we can backdate the rolling stock if we want to, and if we're not backdating the rolling stock, it just makes for a nice little scenic piece. So looking at the junction then, we're going to try and fit all this in. We might have to condense it down slightly. What happens in the real world is, coming towards us is the route towards Watford. Going away from us takes you towards London, the next station being Moor Park, but in my layout the next station will of course be Harefield. And then coming across the back, going in this direction, takes you towards Amersham and the end of the Metropolitan line. So I'm going to build this curve that we're on now that goes to Watford. That is going to be the curve round to the Fiddle Yard, and then obviously going round to Harefield. And then the line going across the back will actually join up to my branch line section. So we're going to have to use a bit of artistic license to make it all fit what I want. So it might look slightly different, but I think we'll get there in the end, and it will be a good sort of scene, really. So as said, I'm going to fit the tip sidings on the left. I want to incorporate the canal that's further around the corner. We'll shoot to there in a second. And then the pylon that's in the distance, I'm going to try and fit that in somewhere as well. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of a rule one scenario where it's all sort of crammed in and it is what it is to make it fit, but I think we'll make good use of it all. So I think we'll have room to get the substation in that you can see there. I believe the substation is called Croxley Hall, and just in front of the substation we've got the base, I believe, of what used to be the old signal box. Now, I can only actually find 2 pictures of the original signal box, so I don't think I'm going to go for the full thing unless we can extend away from Harefield a bit more, because we'll have too many signal boxes in a small space. But we'll think about that later on. I might put one in just as a placeholder for now. But yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot to model, lots of detail. I think it'll make for a really interesting scene, and it'll be a nice little thing to use at shows. Well, look where we are. We found the bridge. So we're just by the canal. Metropolitan line goes over the top. Lovely little view here. It's really sort of peaceful and tranquil as well. We'll go on the other side, so we've got the sunlight, and we'll have a look. This would be a cool thing to model. We've got a boat that's sinking here. Obviously it's only staying afloat really, probably because of the depth of the water and because it's tied up. That'd be quite an interesting thing to put on there. But yeah, anyway, we're at the other side of the bridge, so you can see it in the distance. We've got the pylon right next to us, just behind the bushes. And then you can see the power lines going across the top of the bridge. So that's something to add in. The other side of the canal is all basically trees and bushes. So lots of foliage needed. And we've got a train coming over the top, whether we'll see it or not, might be on the other side. You just about catch the roof. So that's going up that way, hopefully. There she goes. Very nice. So that's us having a quick look at the canal down at Croxley. I'm going to head back now. Let's jump over to Norfolk with Tim Horn and see him laser cutting some of my new baseboards. So we'll skip to that now. Go. So I was just starting to take the layout out ready for Anthony's opening day, and you know how I did this so you can get in and out, and that's now where it sits at 90 degrees. This is 2 foot, that's just under 2 foot. So you can see the problem here, and as if by magic, a line has appeared. Well, there's no going back now. There's the top half. So this is a 1 foot tall back seam now, whereas before it's around 2 foot from the bottom to the top. So I think the back seam is about sort of 1 3/4 feet. So we've lost probably 1/4 of a foot. 3/4 of a foot off there, something like that. So that'd be plenty where it can go through the gap. And to be honest with you, if I do that, it's not gonna look too bad. It's about right height wise for the trees. Obviously we need a lot more of those. Now where there are tabs for the side piece to come in, because obviously we're losing the side as well and it's just going to be open, I've cut the tabs off as well, so these little blocks, because obviously it's going to be like this otherwise, which is what I forgot to do down here, so I need to fill those in at some point when I cut these ones off. So I've cut them off. Obviously they're not perfect, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the wood glue, I'm going to glue them in, let it set for a while, and then I'll come back and I'll basically sand all of this edge flat. Of course it will need touching up with the back seam, but I do want to sort the back seam anyway, so that should get that looking good. And then while that's drying, I can get this outside and start marrying it up to this board, and then seeing how we're going to look for getting the track in. Here we are then. I've brought this bit of the layout in the house. So there is that 4x2 bit of hairfield, which is the left hand end piece. Now that it's got its back seam cut off. This is the 4 foot by 3 foot board, and then we've got the 2x2 that goes there. I'm just going to work on it in the house for the day, just because it's a bit cooler in here. The background noise is my #1 fan. So yeah, the reason behind this big board was it's going to go round the curve and there's going to be a junction on it, because eventually brake spear will bolt on to this end here. So I can take the layout in a roundy, or I can also take it with the branch line on. Now, obviously we've got the branch line coming out of Harefield there. Eventually I will relay that with ball head, because I think it's probably about time I up my game a bit. That siding will stay as a siding, whereas it was originally going to be 2 through lines to the branch line, and now I think it will look a bit nicer if we just go with single track. So that will remain a stub, and then it'll be single track along here, and then you've got the scissor crossing around here for brake spear, and the eventual plan is to put another board in between just to space it away from that, so it doesn't look a bit silly, but it'll work for now. So in its current configuration, basically we're going to have nothing there because brake spear will come on eventually, so we'll just have a single line going off into the distance. So yeah, need a couple points. I have got 2 right hand large radius code 75s. The main layout is code 100. I'm going to do code 75 and all the rest, and eventually I might change the middle part of the layout. We'll see how we get on. So I've gone large radius this time, whereas those are medium. I'm going to try and fit large in wherever I can from now on. I think it will look a lot nicer, it will run smoother. We've also got a long crossing there as well, which we'll need, of course. And then I will need another left-hand point to go up there, which will be for the Croxley tip line, which will go off scene eventually. For now, I'm just going to use a bullhead point that I've got spare, which is one of the points I've got for Onga when I eventually build it. So I'm going to just use that to mock up, and I will of course replace this just to get an idea of where it's all going to go. So let's get these out, place them on with some rough bits of track, and see how we're looking for space. I went and measured my canal, and my canal is 15 centimetres wide at its narrowest point, and that's to allow 10 centimetres of canal and then 5 centimetres of towpath. You get away with probably dropping the towpath down to sort of 3 or 4 centimetres, I think, if not slightly less. So I could make the canal ever so slightly wider, and then it would sit about there, which looks about right for the picture. So I think that would be quite good. Obviously I'll have to cut out the bits and then drop them down, and then sort out under the bridge deck or whatever. But I don't think that curve there will be too bad. I mean, that can probably come in a little bit, but I think we'll get away with that. Right, next part of the build. I've sorted it out so that these boards bolt up together, which they are now. So now I've got to cut the canal in. So I'm just marking it all out. I did roughly mark out where I wanted it to go. Then I remembered, actually, I need to be a bit careful about this because of where the baseboard is constructed. So you've got these supports, which I want to avoid as many as I can. And the way I was going to cut straight through that one. I was going to be cutting straight through that end piece, which would be a very bad idea. It was going to pretty much touch this one. It was going to go through that one, sorry. It was going to be close to this one. And then the curve was very tight as well. So we are changing it and bringing it further this way. And that is the best I can do with what we've got. So we only cut through one vertical tab. We missed that one just, and we get a gentler curve into the background. And then on the front, it's on a piece which doesn't really do anything anyway. It's either side of these supports, which is what I want. So I think that's the best way. The real location, the railway is actually, so if it was all scaled down and squashed up, the railway here would be raised up on an embankment, and then it would join, so the earthwork would come up to meet it, probably up here somewhere where the signal box and all that would be, and it sort of flattens off again. I did think about this, but it's a massive can of worms, and I think it's just going to be unreasonable to do, because I would have to cut an enormous piece out to then build the landscape up. The only other way would be to drop the board down, and I don't want to keep messing about dropping boards down when the whole other side of the layout will already be dropped, because it just opens a can of worms. So I would have to drop this board, have the brake speed board raised, and have the back board raised, and then the scenery will meet up to it. How far do you go, you know? So we're going to just run with what we got. So this is 15 centimeters wide, the new sort of shape. So I'm going to cut that out. That gives me 10 centimeter width for the canal, between 10 to 12, and then I can have the towpath on this side, and then hopefully we can do something to enable us to blend it in to the surrounding, what is in reality a field with a pylon in, which obviously is now going to have to move this way a bit more. So I'll get the multi-tool out, and we just got to cut it and then see. We'll cut first, think later. Fake multi-tool noises. Have you subscribed yet but you haven't? Hit the button quick. Well, we are cut out. That was a mission. Doing that with a semi-blunt multi-tool took a while. My poor neighbours. But I've done a little bit of shape into this, and now it fits in the gap nicely. So hopefully that'll be good. And I'll have to find some thin ply to go along the sides, I suppose. But yeah, it's not gone too badly, and I think with it being in the middle there, it's going to look quite good. A nice sort of focal point, and it will just about, by the time we get a track bed in under the track, it will just about be low enough. So we should get away with that, I reckon. Obviously, I don't have to use something this thickness, but it probably would be easier to do that. But we'll cross that bridge when it comes, pun intended. But in any case, I think the canal boat, if I have one, is probably going to be up here somewhere anyway. I won't stick it under the bridge, so that if it is a bit close, you won't actually notice it anyway. So I think we'll be fine. So yeah, I'll probably glue this in and then work around it and see how we get on. Oh. 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 Lovely. The bridge decks are now secured in place. So I have moved on and started to fit the track. Now the problem you get with this is because the track is going to sit on top of the bridge, the points that is, obviously there is wiring required for these points, and I can't just drill straight through the bridge because obviously it will come out the bottom. So what I'm doing, as you can see, is I've gone with the Dremel pretty mad, and I'm cutting slots. I've done it on this one already. So the bus wires actually run flush with the top of the baseboard there, and then the frog wire runs down that side. The frog wire doesn't matter as much because I'm only using 702 for the frog cable. So it's a bit thinner, so I don't need as deep a hole, and of course because it's on the side it'll be full of ballast anyway, so the ballast will cover that. I've used some Tamiya masking tape just to prevent it lifting, of course, just to keep it in the channel, and I've just put a little dab of super glue each end of both pieces just to ensure that it stays in position. But of course you've got to do a much deeper hole for these because these are 1602 cable, and they have to sit below the surface, otherwise your point will sit up proud and it will rock on them. So that's why you can see this is quite deep, and it's probably about as deep as I could possibly go without breaking through underneath. I wouldn't want to cut any more out of that. Obviously this does weaken the bridge ever so slightly, backwards and forwards this way, but the main concern with the bridge is that way, sort of deflecting, and that shouldn't really cause an issue, especially by the time the track is all glued in. So yeah, I'll feed the cables through. I will use the diamond crossing just to ensure that that point is lined up with this one properly, because that would be pretty awkward if the glue goes off and then you can't get the fish plates in. Obviously I will replace these fish plates for insulated ones before I do anything permanent, before I fit this one. The metal ones are just in there because they line things up a little bit nicer, just to give it a bit more strength. But yeah, I'll get this point in, and then we can look at doing the diamond crossing, and then basically from there it's all just plain track work. Some swearing later, and the first bit of track is in, the bit of plain track that is. So I've done the outer loop first, because then I will move inside obviously and do the inner loop. I didn't want the outer loop to be too close to this edge. I mean, that's about the limit of where I wanted to go, just so you can get a tiny bit of sort of foliage or something in there to mask it all. But I'm pretty happy with how it looks. It's a very nice sweeping curve, gradually sweeps in there. I did in the end decide that I do want this board to split from the main board, so I've gone ahead and used DC Concepts copperclad sleepers, which are usually my go-to. I've also used them on the edge of the baseboard, as you can see. So I worked from the crossing this way. I attached the railing in the crossing. I bent it to shape after cutting the webbing on all the sleepers and spacing the sleepers out. So I then worked out where I wanted it to go. I put the glue down once I'd spaced it out and got rid of all the excess sleepers. Put the glue down, slapped the track on, then spaced a couple sleepers off the end. Bear in mind this track piece was over here somewhere, it was one whole length. I then marked, before taking the sleepers off, sorry, I marked where they had to go so they were the correct spacing also. You can see those little black marks. You can't quite see those ones, I've taken them off. So yeah, basically I slid 5 sleepers worth out of the way, and one by one I did it. So I slid them all this way one by one, put a sleeper in, soldered it in, then slid them all again, put a sleeper in, soldered it in, then went again and cut it in half, and then just soldered this side. And then I carried on gluing the sleepers in place. However, I didn't solder these ones. So then obviously I had this bit soldered, the track was glued and drying, and then I got the Dremel and cut nice and neatly where the join is, and then took that little bit of track away, which is the piece that's there, because of course it would only go to here, so I might as well use one section for the rest. So then I've done the same in reverse pretty much. I've lined it up as best I can. I've soldered on the first solder pad on each rail, just had a look basically down it to make sure it's nice and smooth. Got it as best I can by eye, and then worked from there back this way, and then obviously I've spaced the sleepers as well. Got to this end and there was a load overhanging, so I've done the same as I did earlier, where I took 2 sleepers off this time and then basically replaced the first one with a copperclad, sorry, soldered it on, then moved it, and then replace the second one. Reason to do one at a time is because it keeps the track gauge correct. However, if you're not quick enough with the soldering iron, you will melt the sleepers anyway, the plastic ones of course, so you'll lose your track gauge. It would be an ideal tool for me to get really, I suppose, is an actual track gauge itself, but hey ho. So yeah, we've ended up with this, which looks lovely. I've now fitted this point, which is the point that will go off to Croxley Tip. So this bit of bullet track will go on there, it will go around the curve, and then there'll be a point there with a small like a trap point sort of jobby with a head shunt and a set of buffer stops, which is on a picture that I found. And then obviously that will go off scene behind the back scene of Harefield, where I can put like a traverser or something if I want to run like a pannier tank in and out with a little tip drain. It just gives me the option for later, and even if I don't use it, it's a bit of scenic interest. But yeah, that point is in. That's all looking very nice, and now I'm starting on the inner track, and I'm basically going to work back the other way. So I'm starting at this point and I'm going this way. If you're still with me, well done. It's all boring stuff. I'm sure you've seen plenty of people lay track before, so in about 5 seconds time we should come back and there'll be some laid. Bang! Here we are then, all the track is now fitted on the junction board. Obviously I've taken off the little square board that goes off here, and we're looking pretty good. So I'm basically trying to keep it as simple as I can with block detection. So each piece of track, so this, and the rest, they're all one individual block each, regardless of length, because when you put it into iTrain, you have to measure it all anyway, so the length shouldn't really matter. I have spaced all the sleepers where needed, as you can see, so all the concrete ones are spaced out. Ball head is as it comes, and obviously the points are as they come. So we're looking pretty good in that sense. It gives it a much nicer look overall, even though you don't quite get all the sleepers perfect, but in reality it probably looks a bit better like that. Now this section obviously is quite a long piece, and I want it to be one block, so I've had to make it out of 2 pieces of track. So there is a short piece here. So I've got joiners, just metal joiners, standard ones, as you can see. And then to ensure reliability, what I've done is I've looped a piece of wire from here round underneath to here on both bits. So that will ensure that I have conductivity from here to here, because we don't want anything relying on fish plates, ideally, because they're a bit naff. I'm going to do the same on here. I've got a join just there on the ball head, and then that is all one section as well. However, because it's ball head and it's generally laid in 60-foot lengths, I'm now getting a bit carried away. So what I've gone and done with the Dremel, I have cut at 60-foot intervals, but I've not cut all the way through, as you can see there. So I've not gone all the way through the rail. I've just gone enough so that it would be behind a fish plate. And now I'm basically flattening out fish plates, then putting them underneath the rail and then squeezing them back together. And that will give the effect that the rail is all in sections, where in reality it isn't, apart from here to here, which I'm going to do the same thing by looping wires across. I am keeping the feeds as neat as I can. You can see them there. And I am actually fitting the wiring, the dropper wires, after I've laid the track, which is a bit backwards, but I've found it a bit easier to do it this way. So obviously you would view it from this side. So if you look there where the droppers are, they're not very easy to spot, especially by the time ballast is in there. Sorry. So I think we'll be fine on that note. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. I've had a big box turn up. This can only be from one person. Surely Dave at Bunter's Yard. So let's dive in. He sent me some goodies, starting off with these to go on a platform. They look great. Oh, he's put Harefield Road on them. So that's very nice. I did ask him for some of these because I see him put a picture up of a similar thing ages ago. They look awesome, I must say. And the little maps are great as well. I'll have to dive in and see what else is in there, if anything. Maybe it's just those and some extra labels. We have got a box here. Trying to do this all with one hand, so bear with me. Oh, okay, these are the bins. Awesome. So these are little tiny biffa bins that he has obviously printed up and painted and finished off very nicely, actually. Look at that, that's awesome. Nice little bit of packaging as well, to be fair, keep them safe. So we've got 2 biffa bins. We've got one that looks like it's nice and clean, one that's weathered, so that's good. They can go around by the station somewhere. And these are really cool. It's something I saw on his Instagram. These are bottle banks. These are so different. I mean, you get a lot of 3D printer places that sell all the same sort of thing, like barrels and bits and bobs, but I've never seen anyone doing the biffa bins and these bottle banks. And these will look awesome down near the car park on Harefield somewhere. I'm really looking forward to those. I think I know where I'm going to put them, so we'll come to that later on. Oh, we got billboards. Here we go. That's ridiculous, but I absolutely love it. Mate, what a legend. What a guy. We've got 2 Bunter's Yard billboards. They're actually awesome. I said to Dave, I said, them billboards are awesome. I would love one, but I don't know what to put in them. So I said, I'll tell you what, stick yourself in them for an advert. Happy days. And I'll put them on the layout. And he said, yeah, all right then, go on then. So that was very nice of him to do. We've got some more bits here. Oh, these are stillages. They're cool. So they aren't actually for Harefield. If I try and get them open, they're not actually for Harefield. They are for the little depot scene that I've created. And I'll probably use a couple on the steam depot as well. So these obviously can stack up. They're for storing parts or like returned items and stuff in the depot. They're really cool. We've got a good few in there, so I'll split them between the two depots. That's awesome. We got this is something I asked for. Water slide decals, some graffiti. They're really cool. Nice little thing he does. I just see them on his Instagram when I was paying. I thought, actually, can you add them in? They're awesome. I actually like the I Love Trains one because that's, you see a lot of this block sort of stuff nowadays. It's quite funny. So yeah, they'll all come in handy. They're really cool. Oh, there's the actual ones there on the back. They're quite a nice size actually as well. Yeah, they're really good. Quite pleased with those. Well, in the middle, we've got these. These are my London Underground bridge girders. They are awesome. I'd imagine, actually, these are probably, might be parts for the bridge girders because they have railings running along. So maybe that's what the holes are for. And they're little sort of stanchions for the railings to go in. And that's why he's included the styrene. That might all make sense, actually. But these are for the new Canal scene on the new board. So they're really cool. I like that he's put the rivets on the top as well. That looks good. They're quite a nice thickness as well, actually. Normally, girder pieces are really thin, but they're quite substantial, so that's good. I like those. So that's cool. That's nice of Dave. So go and check out Bunter's Yard, as you can see here. He has Instagram, Facebook, all the usual stuff. And he also has a website as well. If you chuck him in Google, I'm sure you'll find him. Or follow the link from one of his social media pages. Does some lovely little items for your model railway. Does some stuff that, as you can see, is a bit out of the norm, which is nice. And he can also do custom bits, like the bridges. He does really, really nice signal boxes as well, which I'm kind of jealous of. I might have to get one day. But yeah, great guy. I've been talking to him for a little while, and it's nice to see his business take off because obviously he started out quite small, probably a year or two ago now, and it's boomed from there. So it's great to see. He's got a nice website to use, easy to follow, and just an all-round great guy. So cheers for that, Dave. I look forward to getting all these on the layout ASAP. Well, I've not really been keeping up with videos because I'm so busy trying to get this layout done. But as you can see, we are making progress. This is the entrance to the Fiddle yard from the junction board. So we have the junction board. This is where Harefield is. This is where the brake split branch will go eventually. This is the junction, of course. We go round here. Then we go, excusing all the mess, because I've been doing lots of 3D printing and stuff. We come onto these two lines here, and that's the Croxley tip line. We go out under the bridge. That's going to be where the scenic brake is on the back. Then we come in here. So we go round and into the Fiddle yard, which will be 8 lanes. As you can see, it's nicely spaced. I've laid these 4 tracks. I've not laid these 4 just yet. The hope is that I can get it all nice and neat. As you can see, it is a little bit wavy, but that is up to that line. I'm trying to get them straight from there onwards with a 70mm gap in between, because that gives you a nice space to get your hand in there and grab something. 4 lanes for each, realistically, with a 2-foot wide board was sort of the max. I did want to have 5 lanes on this side so that I could have a small little sort of bay servicing the tip line, because obviously the tip line will just come in and out of here. However, that's not really going to fit, so we're just going to have to live with it. It is what it is, and the imagination there is that the tip line will come out, and then off scene, which will be on here somewhere, is where the point would have been for stuff to come across and go up towards Watford. So yeah, I'm just going to lay these bits of track now. So these 4 are all in, done. And then of course we've just got to continue going up that way. I've got 4 droppers on this board to lay, and then I've got to chuck some cobalts on here, and this board is completely finished underneath. If I put a picture in now of how it looks, I'm sure you'll get the idea. It's all nice and neat. It's got block detection, so we are looking all good. To lay the points on the edge of the baseboards, I have just simply extended the frogs of the points. So you can see I've just used some rail and I've soldered the fish plates in, so they don't need extra droppers. So they basically act as just an extension of these points. It is much the same as these pieces. I've done this exact same thing, but on this end of the points, I basically extended this bit down, and then we've got insulated joiners here with a bit of a gap for expansion. So that should work nicely anyway. It works in my head. It should be fine. But yeah, we're cracking on. We've got a lot to do, of course. We are 2.5 weeks out, I think. So we are getting there. Landscape is coming on this one. Then we've got the road surface in. I cut down those supports and that's all in nicely now, nice and solid. And as you can see, I've shaped up some foam to create the embankment, and I filled in the back piece as well. So I'm going to go ahead now and plaster bandage. I've got an old saucepan, and we're going to crack on. I've got 2 rolls of this and then a couple more out the back, but should only need 1 or 2 anyway. So I've got these 2 boards joined back up. I'm just spraying all the track with some rail match, which I've just done. And now what I'm doing is wiping it off, which might sound a bit counterproductive, but it just gives you a bit of variation rather than everything being brown. Oh, we've got a loose sleeper there. Just looks a lot nicer when you come to ballast it all. Looks like the sleepers are already dirty and you don't have to go too mad after. Also, being concrete sleepers, obviously I don't want them looking the same as wooden ones, so it just helps that a little bit. I've been making some progress since the last little clip then. We've got some greenery, as you can see. Done some more embankments to tie it in with the other board, and now there's just stuff everywhere because obviously I've got to ballast, but I need to get the second set of bridges in under here. So to do that, obviously I've got to make another one of these bridges and another standard girder, which is there and done. So I'm just doing the funky one now with the cabling. So I've got some timber surf cabling that he did for me ages ago, which is very good. It's this sort of stuff you can just see on the end here. Ignore the bit of styrene strip. I've used that as like a backing piece. So I've glued 3 bits together, then glued them to this, left a bit overhanging, then glued one end onto one of these walkway arches, which come like this, obviously in one piece, but I do have a spare, hence I'm chopping 2 up. So chop this in half, and then that will give me the piece that comes down from the bridge to standard cabling height. Obviously I put that bit on, that's all good, glued it on the back so it kind of matches up. The only problem with these is this is very thin, so they do snap, as you can see, but I've chucked some glue over it, so it should be okay. I mean, once it's in, so it should be fine. And then this side, done the same thing, except this time I overlapped it by one hanger, and that just gives it a little bit more rigidity, so that works quite nice. I wish I did that on that side now. But yeah, got the length I wanted, then done that. Now I've got to reduce the height of this slightly, otherwise it will sit too tall and it will actually sit over the top of the bridge like that, whereas I want it to sit about there, so you can see that the legs would sit too far down. So same as what I did on here, I've had to reduce the height by basically cutting through 2 pieces and then joining them together, trying not to ruin it all in the process. So this time, rather than cut with a Stanley blade, which ends up shattering stuff, I'm actually going to Dremel it. And then we should be all good. Then I'll glue it to the back of this Butler's Yard bridge, and then once it's all in position, we can go ahead and prime it, and then we can get the bridge pieces in the hole that's over there, and then we can start ballasting, because as you can see, we've got the other little bits in place now. I've got little drainage pits going in. I've not put the tops on yet, of course, for obvious reasons. The signals are all in place, apart from this one for the branch line, which I need to sort. I did snap a little bit off the edge of that one, which I need to fix at some point. But the other signals are in place. We've got section switch cabinets, we've got relay boxes. I've put the buffer stop on the branch, on the Quoxy tip branch, and there's the buffer stop down here, which comes back off the brake spear branch. That is probably only a temporary addition. Eventually there will be another board in between, I think, so that will probably go at some point, but I'll just put it there for now. And yeah, then we should be good to go. I have got Timber Surf enlisted in printing me loads more of this stuff, because as you can see here, that's what it sort of looks like. These little cable posts. I need so much of it and I've run out. The problem is it's a lot easier to fit this stuff before you ballast, but of course with the time crunch I'm going to have to do it after, because he's not going to get it to me in time. But yeah, so I'm going to fit this, paint it all up. I'll probably have to airbrush the bridge sides a nice sort of dull sky blue colour, like a chalky kind of blue, and then I'll ballast, and then I'll see you then. Ciao, ciao. The canal is finally going in. I've put this bit of wood across the front just as a sort of wall, if you like. Obviously it's going to need some sort of cover over it. We've got the piling going in now. I'm having to cut it down because it's too tall for what I need, which is causing a problem because being scale model scenery MDF stuff, it's not the best, so it does like to break apart, but we're getting there. So I've glued it to this piece of 10 by 15 pine that I got from B&Q, and I'm using a second piece behind which will space it out, so it'll be 20 plus a few mil for the piling itself, and that should give me enough for a towpath potentially. It's not set in stone yet. I might still change it slightly, but obviously I've screwed it in here, as you can see, just to get it in place. It's got a little curve up the end that you can't see, which causes a bit of a problem, but the screws obviously will alleviate that. I don't want to glue it in place yet because obviously I need to paint it. I need to fill in a couple little broken ones, chuck some sleeper grind paint over it. Then when I'm happy with the position, I'll glue it in. Then I'm going to fill in this with ballast, actually. I think that'll look fine. Ballast that and glue it in place, and that'll give us the sort of the pathway, if you like. I do have a set of quayside steps to build to go up to this field if needs be, so probably put those in. But yeah, we're looking good. A friend of mine, Richard, has been over and kindly painted my bridge girders while I've been doing that, so that was very kind of him to do. So that's all sorted now. They're painted front and back in this nice blue colour, and they really do look the part, I think, so super pleased with those. So it's just a case of time, really, seeing how far we can get. Now then, we have moved on slightly. As you can see, the scenery is coming on very well. I'm hoping to get pretty much all finished today because I need to spend my week off before Anthony's show getting the rest of the layout up and running. But so far, I think it's looking pretty tidy. The canal has come on leaps and bounds. I have sanded down the ballast that was on the footpath, the towpath, sorry, just to see where the high spots were because I wanted it to be quite level. So I'm going to come on this little section with another small amount of ballast and then really try and smooth it out flat and then just glue that back in again. The rest of it, because you can barely see it, I'm quite happy with how it is. The back of the canal I've still got to sort at some point, but I'm in no real rush for that bit. That's no biggie. But we've got all the piling in. Obviously I've had to cut the piling down. It's 15 or 16 mil high, something like that. I've then painted the piling like a sleeper grime sort of colour, and then come in on the canal with 2 mil legacy ballast, brownish blend. So I've done that. I've sort of pulled it up to the sides, so the sides are a bit shallower. And I thought this would give a nice sort of base to the canal because the water won't be completely, I don't know what the word is when you can't see through it, but you'll be able to see through the water slightly. So I thought it'd look nice if we do that. And to give it a bit of depth, the middle is very dark and black, whereas the sides are a bit light brown. I've then chucked a few bits of scrap in. Because the canal isn't full depth, it's probably sort of half, 3/4 relief. I have put a few bits in, like a shopping trolley, some tyres and stuff like that, and I've cut them in half so that I can sink them into the ballast a bit better. I've also chucked a washing machine in there, and again I've cut that at an angle with a Dremel so that it looks like it's sunk into the ground there. Looking pretty good though. I'm pleased with that. Obviously it's all got to dry, and then we can come along with the resin and make an absolute mess. But the only other problem with that is to do the resin. I probably do need to sort this back out, actually, thinking out loud. But yeah, pretty good. The bridge sides, I have just weathered them up slightly. They're looking pretty cool, quite happy with those. Just took some white weathering powder and some rust weathering powder. I've put some satin varnish on them just now, so they have now sort of dulled down a little bit. And then I'm going to come along with probably the airbrush, paint a little bit of sleep grime over, and then wipe it straight off so that it goes down in the sort of bottom corners. Like you see, like there's a bit there where I had a bit of overspray, and I did the same thing, and I quite like the effect, so I think I'll do that. I've put the parapets in, as you can see, but I've not painted the mortar wash on there, so I need to do that. And obviously they need some tops, so at least we've got something retaining those big girders now, so that's good. At some stage I do want to come along with some brick sheet and make a little piece that slots under, that sort of brings the brick wall up to the ends of the parapets, so it looks like that section is brick and the rest of it will be concrete. I think that'll just give a bit of variation, and it will look a bit better with the brick parapets. It'll just add on. I'm not sure if this was all in last time, but we've got this little pylon area. So in the real location there is a pylon next to the canal, so I thought we'd try and model that. And with the angle it's going to be sat at, it will go towards the back scene, so if I want I can put some sort of string or something and drill a couple holes through the back scene to hold it. So that'd be pretty cool. The ground is, again, just the fine ballast that I'm using on the rest of the layout, except just not weathered down as much. I've just gone around the edges with a slight bit of brown just to tie it into the static grass. So that's cool. Lots of palisade fencing around as well, as you can see. So I put some gates on there before I forgot and shut it all in. I thought that'd be a silly mistake. We've gone across the edge with some palisade fencing, the edge of the track. That was good. I quite like how the ballast comes under here a little bit. I think that's pretty cool. We've got the quayside steps in, and we've got these nice little barriers from Scale Model Scenery that turn up quite well when you get them done. They aren't painted actually. I might actually leave them because they look pretty good as they are. I'm certainly going to leave them for now anyway, but I think that looks really good, that scene. Obviously I need to put some of this fencing on this side as well before I go mad with the foliage, because the foliage is all going to overhang this side. As for the rest of the layout, looking pretty good now. I think I've chucked some ballast down. It took ages. It's still drying now, 2 days later. Being that it's fine ballast as well, it doesn't like glue as much. If you look over these bits here, it does tend to lift slightly, and that's even with it soaked. So hey ho, you can always come in with some static grass and hide those sort of bits. And then yeah, just went over with some grimy sort of coloured paints to make it match this section, which was already kind of dirty. And then on the Croxley tip sidings, I went a bit madder, so it's a bit darker over there, which was cool. It might need a little bit more. But yeah, generally, we're looking pretty good. We're almost done. I've got to sort out a bit more static grass on the embankments up there. I've got to finish that bridge. And I think for now, we're going to use this signal box here, and then a new Bachmann Art Deco substation just as placeholders for where the future ones will go. But yeah, generally very happy with this. So we're pretty much at the point now where I'm happy. All I've got to do is when the timber serve cable runs turn up, same as this, I've got to obviously finish that run to there. This has then got to continue and then have a cable arch going over and then meeting some more over here somewhere. And then we've got to have cable run going around the tip line as well. Lots to do in that department, and that is a very fiddly job to do. It takes ages, but it makes the scene. Well, in a crazy turn of events, the layout is now in the house so that I can work on it with it all up together quickly. We have wired the bus all up together, and we have run a train from one end to the other, so that is very good. Obviously we knew this worked, but we wanted to prove the new junction board. I was pretty confident that my wiring is good enough where it works straight off the bat, and I'm pleased to say it does. So that's great news. We needed to put them together though, as mainly these two to work out the scenery. Obviously we've got this to sort out. We've got something to sort out at the back, which we've got a plan for. Hence that's just there as a placeholder for now. We've got some weathering to sort out, and we need some static grass in here, so that's fine. So I'll come along with the airbrush shortly and do that and tone that down. So I've had Peter and Will over today, and they've been hard at work fitting the fourth rail. They've done a pretty good job. There's a few little bits we've got to tweak, but it's all in there. And obviously, as you can tell, it makes a massive difference to the look of the track. It's nice AWS ramps. We've got TBWS grids, stuff like that all going on. Will's kindly given me some speed sign etches. Very kind of him. He is such a good lad. Thank you very much, mate. Peter, again, thank you so much for your help. both of you, and also have had Anthony over from AGR, also helping with stuff. I can't thank these guys enough, honestly. They really have put a shift in today. We are trying desperately to get this over the line. I've got 4 days, and the 4th day is only a half day because we have to then transport it to Anthony's shop for the Saturday open day, so we've got to have it all running by then. But we're pretty good on scenery. We're getting there. All I've got to do is loads of rubberized horsehair, the same as this, over these embankments. These trees aren't planted yet. They need to go in there. I've got a couple more that I need to grab. We've got another big tree which is going to go here somewhere, or maybe behind here actually would look better. We've got those 2 little trees in there to plant somewhere, and then basically just sort the greenery out. This embankment needs to change. I'm going to do that after I stop filming. I'm going to hack it from here and go down. So I'm going to reverse this basically so it comes back down on itself. That's because with the canal here, it doesn't really work having an embankment. It looks weird. So we're going to have to bite the bullet and do that. Yeah, busy. There is a lot going on. And then over here, it looks like a tip. Thank God my missus is understanding. So we've got the raised boards here. So this board is what's going to go on this end, so it will curve around this side. That's eventually going to be a viaduct scene. That's going to look pretty cool. We're going to have a moving car system under here, going along, around. The other curve board for here is, where have I put it? I believe it's in the cabin now, actually, just stored for the night because it is nighttime outside. This is the raised embankment for it. We were just putting cork on, we messed that up. So hopefully I can get that to sort itself out because that's a biggie. There's a cat. But yeah, we're looking good. We're getting there, guys. And it's going to look absolutely incredible if we can get it over the line. So, oh God, let's crack on. So I'm now on to the next job. I've got 1 curve board on and the middle bit of the scene. The viaduct supports are all in, the track bed's in. There's 4 mil of cork there in 2 mil layers. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. So this gives us a nice raised up track bed, which is kind of cool. It's something I haven't done on the rest of the layout, so it makes it a little bit different. Good night, Mr. Cat. So the pain here though is respacing the sleepers on a curve is a nightmare. When you cut the supports, the webbing, sorry, in between the sleepers, it's an absolute pain in the backside to actually bend the rail, and it takes ages. You've got to then adjust every sleeper for it to bend the rail properly. So the way I did it was I use some very small M3 3 mil by 12 mil screws. You can see them here. Say this was the curve, I'll put screws either side so they just nip down on the railhead. Then I will bend that little bit, adjust some sleepers about that much, then put another pair of screws, then do the same again further down until we've got the whole curve. And then I obviously space it with the Railway Laser Lines sleeper spacing tool. As you can see here, I've just got the small one, it's all I've ever needed. So that it kept its shape, I went across the inner edge of every sleeper. I did it on the inside so you can't see it from the view inside, and just a tiny dab of super glue, and that helps it all keep its position. So I could then take the track off, lay some glue down, then put it back, then come again and space it, then put the screws in like you can see here. This is what I was on about while it dries, and they just nip it down ever so slightly to the cork, so you can get them to the point where the actual head of the screw just sits on the lower part, the bottom part of the rail, and that does the job lovely. And then obviously once you're done, take them out, Bob's your uncle. If they leave a little bit of a hole, then when you come to ballast it, get the hole, put a tiny bit of super glue just in the hole, then sprinkle a little bit of ballast in there and just push it in, and then you won't have loads of ballast falling through the hole all the time. Little tip. But yeah, we're getting there. So that'll be this bit done. Excuse the mess. It looks like an absolute nuclear bomb has gone off in the kitchen. But that's looking good. So we'll have this bit of track all sorted by tonight. This bit's pretty much dried now. It's looking good. Tomorrow I'll come along with the Dremel and just cut off these bits of plasticard. That's just to have something solid for the copper-clad sleepers to glue down to. And then that will be good. This little spur here is intentional. It's not going to have track on it. It will have a bit of lifted track. So it'll have some ballast there with what looks like what used to be a track bed. That's because if you go up to South Harrow, there's a viaduct on the Piccadilly line, and you look out of the left-hand side, if I remember, going towards London, you'll see a little stub like this, and it used to go to a gasworks. And for some reason, when they redeveloped it, they left a little tiny stub of the viaduct in place. So I thought it'd be a nice little thing. And the positioning of it is such that you'll be able to look through it, and in the distance you'll be able to see into the station, because of course eventually this back seam won't be here, so it'll be a lovely view in, and you can look along the track bed, because of course the viaduct itself will have walls, so it will restrict that view. So this will be a lovely little view with an open front and just some sort of metal railing fencing instead. But yeah, I'm going to crack on. Goodbye. So it is 2:30 in the morning on Friday. I've got to take the layout to Anthony's shop later today, obviously once I go to bed and wake up again. And it's 2:30 in the morning because I've just finished wiring this board up and the one behind it. There are two here, two Fiddle boards. So what I've got left to do in the morning is I've got to take the third curve board out. I don't know if you've seen this yet. I can't remember if I filmed this, but the curve section is all in. It works, apart from 2 points. So this last board's got to come out, so that I can put the 2 left-hand curve points in there. They won't take me long. They'll probably take me half hour, an hour to do, not even that. Should be able to route through them pretty quick, to be honest. Then after that, obviously 3 wires on each to fit, 2 cobalt point motors for now. And then that will allow me to fit the track on the one last board, which is the third Fiddle yard board to go with those 2 on the table. That Fiddle yard board will have 4 points on it, I think. 4 points, 8 roads. So that's 16 wires for the 8 roads. Then that's 12 wires for the points, and obviously point motors. So hopefully I can route through that pretty quick, and then just paint the board to match these 2, because I have painted them. I've painted them to a 2-tone sort of setup, so that one colour is for one direction and one colour is for the other. However, I've had to repaint one of the boards because I forgot what way round the boards fit together, and I actually had both the colours back to front, so it looked like a Battenberg, which I'll put a picture in. So that might make you laugh. Yes, we're not perfect, but that's what you get for rushing these things. So anyway, I'm going to go to bed, and hopefully tomorrow we can get a layout running. So we did actually make it to Ant's shop. So I went up there on the Friday night, and to be honest with you, I was stinking ill. I was not in a place to really do anything, so I didn't get the layout finished. We made some of the legs, got the layout standing, so that was a good start. And then I had one more board on the Fiddle yard basically to build, which you can see in this clip here, the blue board. We didn't get it all done. We got about 3 roads on each side laid, but even then we had problems, so we can only use, I think, 2 roads per direction. That was a nightmare. It did rain throughout the day, on and off. It was mostly dry, but we had a few downpours through the day. It wasn't a big deal, and to be honest, it did end up with us being able to get some really cracking shots with the reflections from the rain, including of James's DC train automation billboard there. But it was really good fun, and it didn't hinder us too much. The layout itself, by the time we got stuff running, bear in mind the open day started at 10 AM, it was about probably 11:15, something like that. after that point, and ironing out a few more issues, it actually ran alright, so that was nice. The main issue was the whole time we were having problems, it was because I had a bus wire back to front, because the new boards all have the bus wire reversed compared to the old boards, and I simply just didn't notice when I wired the junction board up to the Harefield station board. I wired it up correctly at home to test it, and then on the day I wired it back to front, and we were chasing our tail for ages trying to work it out, but we got there in the end. We were also fortunate enough to, as I mentioned earlier, have James from DC Train Automation down, and thankfully he was there to lend a helping hand when I was having problems wiring-wise, to sort of help diagnose things. So massive thanks to him. He also lent us a hand controller for the day, which was super helpful. Also Cavalex, they lent me the GBRF Class 60 sample to play with, and it was really good that we had that actually, because a good solid reliable loco is exactly what we needed to basically just get stuff running round and round to keep the public happy. So that was super good. And you'll also see later when we went to the Rapido Railex show, we actually had 3 of their Class 60 samples, so they were super cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing them at the Great Electric Train show, including the brand new samples, so keep an eye out for those. Obviously, I've also got to thank massively Anthony himself for putting his event on. Obviously, congratulations for reaching 10 years in your shop. That's a brilliant achievement. And I'm just very thankful that he trusted me to get a layout together in time to show off. And although we missed the first hour of the show, I think the rest of the day went fairly smoothly considering the issues we had. But yeah, I'm really pleased it worked out for him. We had loads of people through the door. It was very busy, loads of people at the layout as well, and I think his second hand still did quite well. So you never know, might see a similar sort of thing next year. Let's hope it becomes a yearly event, because I think it was quite a success.
Double tap.
Right, really? Oh, we've only got one to try now, haven't we? So what did I take away from this experience then? And I'd say the key thing is simplicity. Starting with rolling stock, keep to block trains. In my opinion, farting about changing locos and rolling stock around is a waste of time, and you'll end up getting stressed out. Until you get used to it, just keep it simple. Keep something, say like the S-stock, just leave that on one Fiddle yard road. Don't mess with it. If it runs, let it run round quite happily. Same as the freight stock that you can see in the videos. That ran fine, so we left it on with the Cavalex 60. That ran round happy. So we always had something on the go. I feel like the public don't mind what you run as long as something runs. And that was probably the key thing I took away from it. But anyway, Anthony's open day was, I think, a success in the end. So then we had a few days to recuperate, make a few adjustments to the layout, and then it was on to the first real show, which was Rapido Railex down in Maidstone for 2 days. Just another quick couple of thank yous though before we get into the main running shots. James, I couldn't have done it without you, mate. I couldn't have got the layout there without your help and helping put some of it in your car. And also you helped me set the layout up and pack it down at the end and run it all weekend without fail. Richard as well, he helped me run the layout all weekend, and he did a few little jobs for me, such as glazing my little 1960 tube train. As well as that, we had Cavalex boys turned up with 3 Class 60 samples. That was nice for them, so cheers Alex and Will for coming down. They also bring with them Luke, also known as Francis Bourgeois, to most of you. He helped run some trains. That was great fun. Good to hang out with him as well as anyone else that I met on the day. And finally, thank you to the Rapido team. So Andy, cheers for putting your faith in me to get the layout actually there and running. I know it was only half finished, but we did manage to run trains all weekend. I feel like the public loved it. We were always busy. It was great to see. I'd say their favourite trains were probably the 89 Steam on the Met Rake with Sarah Siddons and the 1960 tube stock that Richard kindly glazed for me that I mentioned, purely because they have arc flashes on a function, and you see someone watching the train go past and then suddenly you turn the arc flash on and their eyes would just light up. It was great. I think they loved it. But yeah, we had a brilliant weekend, so let's leave you with some running shots, and then at the end I'll sum up. We are cleaning S-stock wheels and fixing loose gear wheels on the axles. James is playing with the points to cycle them.
So it's all synced up. Richard's cleaning track. We are looking good. There he is, loving life. My dad's there, daddish. Yeah, nice little venue. Yesterday ran lovely. Today hoping for more of the same. We've chucked the iPad cradle on there because it was getting in the way. What stock we got out? We got 89 steam on the Met set, which seems to run alright. 38 stock runs like a bag of nails, and it's very slow. We've got two S stocks, S7s, which are giving us problems. This is why I'm messing about with them. We've got 47 on a 62 stock scrap train or delivery train, whatever. We've got a horrible looking 66. It should be blue really. On some box wagons. Craven's 60 stock that Richard kindly glazed for me last second. That looks really good. Chiltern 168, Chiltern 68 and Mark III set. We've got a few nice little bits. There was a DVT there at one stage. We've got a couple of little freight wagons as well with a pannier on the front. So we'll run that today, I think. And a few other bits and bobs. But yeah, and a McDonald's. Looking good. Quite the sight, to be honest. Pretty buzzing. Can't believe it's here. The new junction. The Canal scene. We've got a 68 set going round. In the tip sidings, we've got a couple of battery locos and a new Rapido wagon that they've kindly given us all for exhibiting at the show. With one of their E-classes. In front, we've got one of James's little kit-built shark brake vans that we wanted to display. Richard's done up 94 XX that he did for me, and then Met one. We've got the Craven 60 and an S stock. We're running two 7-car S stocks, they look good. Got the Rapido Railex badge in there for the layout, thought I'd stick it there. Talking to the 68, there it goes. That was good timing. Epic. Wicked. Got the station building lit up as well, which is cool. Yeah, we're looking good. Sorted. So yeah, it's just before 10 o'clock. Let's play trains.
I assume that's one of the old EMP ones. Yeah. Yeah. Stop this one. Diesels to sacralisation.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's the primary modern image from
Yeah, he's definitely stopping the boat.
$15. $15. Should be.
Obviously, I'm not really. I work for Transport for London, so I've actually just been shifted assignments. So I was on the heavy overland, by the way. I'm now on companies like Railway, which get new trains to the in Spain.
Really? Well, basically, these modelling, these
Yeah, just some creative camera ideas. You don't really need Viaduct, do you? What wobbly does it carry it? I'm so annoyed with that. He literally was there. Hey guys, so I've just got back from Rapido Railex. It's currently still the Saturday, it's about 11:30 at night and I'm absolutely wiped out and knackered and I'm gonna go to bed as soon as I've filmed this. And I look like a ghost because I've got a light above my head. But I thought I'd just get this out of the way while it's all fresh in my head. I'm just gonna sort of sum it up quickly. So the Railix show went absolutely smashing. I loved it to bits. Great atmosphere, great vibes, great people. The Friday and Saturday set up of the show I think worked really well, and a lot of other people said the same. The Friday was a more sort of chilled out atmosphere, but you had your more kind of, I say, hardcore modelers, more serious modelers maybe turn up the Friday, I found. And then the Saturday, obviously with schools being shut, you had more of a family kind of vibe, atmosphere turn up. It was nice to see the mixture actually, and it was nice. A lot of people came up, said hello, said they've seen the layout on YouTube or Instagram or wherever, and have been following it for a while. So it's nice to see it. I had so many great comments. I can't actually believe it. I didn't hear one negative thing, even when we derailed a couple little things here and there, or caused a short by not setting a point correctly just through human error. I didn't hear one bad thing the whole weekend from the layout. What was really nice is, I'm not really a people person, to be honest with you, says the guy talking to a camera for thousands of people, potentially. However, in person, I'm normally a bit shy and sort of withheld, if you like. So I was kind of dreading this, but I actually found it very good. I found people come up to you and are very friendly. I was especially dreading the Saturday because of having kids around more because school's out, stuff like that. But they were well behaved. The parents came along and they even loved it as well. They were all enjoying the show, and it just went very well. Things that we need to look at now before potentially doing another show, because we've got a few things lined up in the pipeline that I'll speak about at some point, are getting the rolling stock sorted out. So we have block trains that are interesting, ready to go, that all drive the same, because we found that we had some trains with brakes, active brakes, some without, some were on function 4, some were on function 5. We were having to write them all down and then refer to basically a set of notes, which I want to avoid, and that's just because I wasn't organised enough to get it all sorted. So we need to sort the rolling stock out. They all need weathering a bit as well, need a bit of soot over them. The chips all need syncing up sound wise and making them loud enough so people can actually hear them at the show, because I found that the sound levels that I use in the cabin are nowhere near loud enough for a show. You can barely hear anything. So, and then also bring a back-to-back gauge. That was a bit of a fail. Layout wise, we had one point motor go bad. I changed out all the other bad ones before the show. We had one point motor go bad pretty much straight away on the Saturday. However, it managed to muddle on through, and that was the point coming out of the bay platform. So we did have to use it a lot, and amazingly it stayed in one piece and didn't completely fail. So that was good. So I have to get that swapped out. It's another Cobalt motor. So that's 6 now that are broken. Not ideal, but we'll get them sorted. The big one was hand throttles. So my hand throttle is a Train Control Systems UWT100. Look it up if you don't know what that is. It's basically a fancy wireless power cab, but simplified. It's very nice to use. However, at a show, wireless throttles are very bad because they have interference from other things around. So you try and select a loco and it'll mess up. It won't select the loco, or it'll think you're trying to steal it from another controller. And it was just a minefield. You have to try and select the loco about 3 times before it picks it up. Then when you've selected that loco, sometimes you press a function button and it won't work because it can't send the signal or get through or whatever. So yeah, 2 or 3 wired throttles for next time. Need to get all the signals done and get that sorted. That would be great. Obviously the scenery needs to finish in. The embankments need some more bushes. The 4th rail has all got to go in. I did make a start on getting it all done, but ran out of time. The pylon's got to be finished. I'm glad that I got sort of 3/4 of it done. A lot of people like that because it's something different. You don't see many on a layout. However, in the real location there is one. Got to get the platform canopy lights on, and then basically build the viaduct scene, and we'll be good as gold. But yeah, really good, really positive. I say the layout's all home now. I've now got another idea for it going in the cabin, potentially as it is, which means ripping a lot of the cabin out. We will talk about that next time, if I can be bothered to film it. But otherwise, yeah, it's been amazing. I can't believe it. It was, I wish I could swear, because I tell you how awesome it is in F words, to have that sort of feedback with it all. But I was completely humbled, and I'm not gonna lie, when I was driving home, I felt a bit emotional, to be honest, because I can't believe we actually got it all there, and it just worked, and it was great, and just the smile on people's faces made it all worth it. But yeah, anyway, it all went absolutely brilliant. I just can't thank my friends enough. Can't thank Rapido enough for inviting me, and hopefully it leads on to bigger and better things. So I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to leave you all to it because I've gone on long enough. Hopefully you've enjoyed this probably pretty poorly put together video, and fingers crossed I'll get to see some more of you at a show in the future, and when I can announce another show I will let you know. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again soon. Peace.